Earlier this year, I got a message from Jade that she found out that her sister knew someone who could see reptilians. I have to admit that it was only this year that I was exposed to the world of ETs. The bigger world of ETs, yes. I knew about gray aliens from all the movies and games throughout the years, but I never imagined it would be similar to Star Trek, with a wide list of ET species with different motivations, different missions, different intentions. I have to apologize for the buzz in my audio. It was raining quite hard when we recorded this. Join us as our guest Mason tells us when he started seeing ETs, the Avalonian beings he'd encountered, and the current path of healing he has decided to undertake. Enjoy. Tonight we have a guest who initially a friend of mine, Jade actually. Jade told me that her sister knew someone who could see. It started with that, Mason. Just to let you know, she told me that you could see reptilians here on Earth, and of course, I'm being an alien fanatic, so I was so excited that there was someone who could again enlighten us on the things you've seen, because for most of the people we've talked to who are psychics, not all of them are able to pick up on the extraterrestrials or the ETs who are visiting Earth. So we can go to that later. So we can start with when did it start for you? What age did you realize that you were experiencing something different?
It started around 2017. That's what I would call my dark night of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with that term.
Me personally, no.
Dark night of the soul is the first stage of spiritual awakening where if you're like where you suddenly feel like something's wrong with the world, like something's not enough, and then you start getting into spiritual practices, esoteric practices, alternative and holistic modalities to help you grow. And this is when your issues really start coming out. And this is when your psychic abilities start opening if you have the gifts for it. So out of nowhere, I was just at home one day and I started hearing voices telling me negative things like I should kill myself and stuff like that. So I freaked out because I didn't know what was happening.
Mm-mm.
Because prior to that, I'd read about reptilians and grays, but it never really occurred to me that I'd be experiencing this type of world. So I wasn't sure what was happening. My psychic vision started opening at the time. I wouldn't necessarily see aliens at that time or
Mm-hmm.
entities, but I would see colors like gray colors, which and black colors. And at hindsight, that was like the color of their energy of like the aliens,
Mm-mm.
the dark aliens who were attacking me.
Mm-mm.
And my psychic abilities weren't, my third eye wasn't strong enough to see them clearly yet, but I could pick up on their colors.
Mm-mm.
So it went on for like a year of me just hearing them and seeing colors, and it really made me go batshit because like obviously if you're not exposed to this before or prior, it's like you don't know what's going on with you. So
Yes.
I got really depressed and anxious, and I
What
really
what what
freaked
age were
out.
you? Sorry, can I ask?
I was around 18.
Okay.
So it really like hindered me in school because at that time I went abroad and I really failed university because I really couldn't focus. I was just stuck in my room. I was hiding because I was just so scared and nothing was working for me. And then slowly I started seeing them clear as day.
Mm-mm.
And that's when I started to realize that, oh, okay, this is an awakening. So fast forward to today, I see aliens, entities, both good and bad, and
Mm-mm.
elementals like the dwarves, the fairies, the
Mm-mm.
dragons, and dolphins. I see them all the time, every day.
Mm-mm.
It's like my psychic vision is like you have the third dimension, the physical plane,
Yes.
and it's like there's a movie that is superimposed in it
Mm-mm.
in my eyes. So I can't turn them off and I can't tune them out, but I
Mm.
just see it all the time. It's like my eyes are operating on multidimensional sight
Yes.
all the time. So I always see them now and I always hear them. But now the difference between me and when I was 18 in 2017 is that I really started getting into good energy work, and I started making routines for myself. My gifts got really enhanced over time as I grew,
Yes.
and I'm very protected. So yeah, there's a lot of things I see every day. I see the reptilians. They look like, well, a lot of them look like Godzilla, but smaller versions without the spikes.
Okay.
So you can imagine that they're literally these lizards that walk on their hind legs, and they're black and they're really slimy. And then you see the ET grays, which are literally like, you know that gray alien emoji in the iPhone?
Ah, yes. Oo.
That's literally what they look like.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
And I see them all the time because they try to get to me. The thing about when you awaken into the ascension process is that they're attracted to your issues. And if you
Yes.
don't really have issues with the dark, for example, in theory, if someone doesn't have fear of the dark,
Mm-mm.
of dark beings, or they don't have curses, spells that are negative, or issues with the dark, like emotional, psychological issues like paranoia or conspiracy theories, it's like they can still come for you because as you get brighter, it's like a disco ball and they're attracted to it.
Yes. Mm-mm.
So I see them all the time, like every day I'm dealing with them, but I'm very protected. But my best friend is a psychic, and it's really interesting because she's not as sensitive as me,
Mm-hmm.
but we have similar abilities, and we have a very similar path. And when we clear each other, we heal each other, and we see the same things.
Yes.
So, like, for example, I won't like this happened like a few days ago. We were clearing her. I was clearing her,
Mm-mm.
and I just noticed something that wasn't an alien or an entity, but it was like a negative issue. Like energetically, I could see it in her aura,
Mm-mm.
and I didn't say anything about it. But then later on, we were talking, and I told her, "Oh, I saw this," and she's like, "Yeah, I saw the same thing." So it's really interesting because it's really fun to verify each
Yes.
other's
Yes. Mm-mm.
visions and insights. So it's been a really interesting process. I would say that I'm not in a dark night of the soul right now. I'm just really focusing on my mental health and
Mm-hmm.
self-care. So it's been a lot smoother compared to a few years ago and even last year.
Actually, you're the first one I've talked to that has recently opened. I mean, you've been awakened what 3 4 years, right? So,
Yeah.
if I may ask, we can cut this out. Was there a traumatic event for you for it to trigger in 2017?
No, actually, it just opened out of nowhere. And it's like I just started hearing voices and started seeing colors and energy in general. Like I always see energy, like static on the television.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I always see it all around me. Like every space is occupied with static. It's just a form of energy, etheric energy,
Yes.
and every space has it. Like if I were to move a water bottle off the table, that space is filled with static, but it's not inside the water bottle, it's around it. It's like any space that is open has it.
So how did you learn to accept it? Meaning, my thought process is if before 2017, were you open to the idea of the unknown, of the invisible world?
Yeah, actually, it started with angel numbers. I just started seeing a lot of angel numbers, so I'd Google them,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was just really drawn to them. That's how my spiritual world opened.
Okay.
This was around 2014
Mm-hmm.
when I started buying crystals. Well, my mom gave me my first crystal. It was really interesting because she gave me a quartz tower, a small quartz tower, and she put it on my table while I was studying. And at that time, I didn't really think much of it, but for some reason, like I didn't believe in it either. But for some reason, I started getting really focused
Okay.
out of nowhere because
Mm-mm.
that's the property of the quartz crystal, right? It helps you to focus. It's one of the
Okay.
properties. So I freaked out and I just ran away. And then after that, I couldn't really feel anything because I think my fear suppressed my psychic abilities.
Mm-mm.
But
Yes.
that was like a key nexus point in my timeline with my spiritual awakening. That's when I started to realize at hindsight that I could really feel energy. And it just progressed from there.
Question: in Manila, are you seeing the grays and the reptiles?
Oh, they're all around the world.
Okay. Okay. Have you tried communicating or Because the reason I ask this is I've listened to this YouTube video of a person interviewing a reptilian, and the reptilian is saying that not all of us are evil. Yeah, that's what the reptilian is saying, and it's explaining that they live underground and all the other stuff you'd probably read about reptilians. And I just want to verify if you've been hearing or if you've heard of the same thing.
I don't think they're good though.
Yes, that's the general consensus.
Because from what I'm getting intuitively is that the gray alien race and the reptilian race, they're all dark beings. They're not very evolved beings.
Mm-hmm.
Their collective consciousness is very low. So
Mm-hmm.
they operate in fear and manipulation, deception. And that's why they're on the planet to like harvest people's energies, to control the planet through implants and technologies, to attach to people, to wreak havoc on the planet and humanity. It's really interesting because during COVID, a lot of them are here because they're drawn to the fear, the collective fear of COVID.
Mm. Yes.
So yeah,
Have you tried? Have you communicated with the other aliens from the galactic? I'm not sure what to call it, but the galactic. It sounds Star Trek, but the Galactic Federation or the Galactic Council. Have you gotten in touch with any of them?
cause I'm a star seed, so I'm a Syrian
Okay.
star seed. I don't know if you've
Okay.
heard that, but
Yes.
like,
Yes.
it's just natural for me to see a lot of galactic beings that are light, not necessarily the dark ones. So I see a mix of them both, although it's usually dark. Um, Mostly I see dark because I usually just keep to myself because those light ETs they don't really communicate to you or come to you unless you really want something to say to you.
Yes.
So they just leave me alone.
If I may ask you again, so spirits are just there. You see them all the time.
Yeah, it's like astral wildlife. You just see
Okay.
everything. It's like going to Africa and going
Okay.
on a road trip, and then you just see all the animals. It's like that.
Okay. How do you see elementals? Do you see them as, do they have like a physical form, meaning in their energy form? Do they have a shape or
Yeah.
sige, sige, go ahead.
So I see different kinds of elementals. I see elves, and they literally look like they're very small. Maybe
Yes.
they're less. They're like 2 feet.
Yeah.
Although some of them are a meter long, but they're generally very short. They're generally a short race,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the pointy ears. They have usually fair skin.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they wear cone hats, but not always. It's really
Mm-hmm.
funny to look at because like they're very playful. Well, the friendly ones are playful. And I see dwarves, they have beards, they're very small. They're hunchback.
Do they communicate with you?
Yeah, they do. They just say hi.
Okay.
Because like the thing about elementals is that they're everywhere. Like most houses have elementals,
Yes.
but not all of them are good
Mm-hmm.
elementals
Mm-hmm.
because the thing about elementals is that they're generally just, they're Mother Earth's assistants,
Mm-hmm.
but they can become unruly if there's an imbalance in them, if there's a problem that they face. For
Mm-hmm.
example, like a capre, if you cut down a tree, they're gonna get really upset and they might attack you or attach to you.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, they're very benevolent.
Yeah.
So in my house, there's a lot of elementals here because my house, I put a protection around my house and I clear my house every day. So it's a very light house. The vibration is very light. So a lot of elementals move in because they think it's a safe space.
Mm-hmm.
So I have water Chinese dragons in a fish pond. There's like a white lady, not a scary white lady, but a friendly white lady
Yes.
dressed in a white dress with silver hair. And she has like her own apocotherapy lab.
Okay.
She has like a table with flowers and
Okay.
crystals, and she just does stuff, and she does it in the garden. So there's a lot of elementals at home. I live in the I live in a subdivision. It's in the mountains, so
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of elementals here.
Okay. I'd like to hear your theory about. I mean, if you look at European folklore, of course they have the elves, the fae, right? Like in Lord of the Rings. So, what's your theory with what you're seeing? What's your theory with regards to elves? I mean, they're like an advanced human race or something like that. Or, I mean, what are your opinions on that?
Well, elves are just elves. They've existed long before humans have. Well, it's interesting about European folklore because I did a reading on my friend the other day, my best
Mm-mm,
friend, and a part of her destiny is to harness white magic. She's a
mm-mm,
white witch. It's in her blood. Her
mm-mm,
soul has an ancestral line of a witch coven, who lives in the spirit world. And last night, these beings came to me. They're called Avalonian Beings. I don't know if you've heard of them before.
Uh,
Have you
f-
guys heard of Avalonian Beings?
familiar. I mean, Avalon, King Arthur, right?
Yeah, it's connected to the King Arthur and Merlin myth and
Mm,
folklore.
yeah.
But basically, there's an energetic realm, like a kingdom in the UK, where they all exist. So it's filled with spirit people and elves and dwarves and other elementals, and they're very unusual in the sense that they are much more evolved and they're much more light and more high vibe than usual elves
Mm-mm.
and the normal elementals. And they're very powerful for white magic.
Okay.
They're masters of white magic. So yesterday, a man who looks like Merlin, he's wearing a robe, a hooded robe, and his robe had so much details on it, like a Renaissance painting.
Mm-hmm.
And he came to me talking about my friend, like how my friend's aligned to work with Avalonian beings because she's a white magic witch and they're white magic people. And so yeah, that was my first contact with Avalonian beings.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw an Avalonian elf last night and an Avalonian lady also in a hooded robe. They're very fashionable. But yeah, and they're really powerful beings because I'm clairsentient, so I'm super sensitive to energy. Any energy around me, I pick up, and
Yeah.
oh my god, like their energy is so nice. It's like I had a salt bath when I feel them.
Okay. Have you heard of that this place in the Philippines called Biringan?
No, I'm not familiar with that. What is it?
Okay, so there's supposedly this place down in Samar. It's supposed to be a mythical city. It's a hidden mythical city, and people who live there, we've had a few people tell us stories from grandmothers and grandfathers that supposedly there's this advanced human race. Again, they could not be human. There's this advanced race that lives in that hidden world, and it sounds similar to the Avalonian beings you're saying, or the she. Is it the she? I mean, in UK, but they're in a hidden city, and again, people who pass through that area, people who walk in that area, sometimes they see while walking in the forest, they suddenly see tall buildings, tall, shiny buildings in the middle of the forest, and suddenly they're out of there. Meaning it's like they're just passing through and they see it.
Oh, okay.
There are a lot of theories as to what that place is, and we talked to this girl from Amsterdam, and we also theorized that probably there are other places like this around the world. Which again, you mentioned, it's like an advanced elf place where they're more advanced than us. So I'm not sure if that place is. I'm trying to. We're trying to figure out what that place is.
What do you call the place again?
Biringan, Biri.
Biringan.
Biringan, yeah. It's supposed to be they call it the Sun City. Am I correct? Yeah. Because it's supposed to be very advanced. And sometimes they say people's souls get stuck there. So again, that's another thing. Okay. We're trying to understand. What other beings have, visited you?
Um, Archangels, angels, because my guides are archangels. I've seen Syrians in their spaceships. I've seen Pleiadians and Arcturians and Orion beings.
Orion beings are supposedly evil, right? I mean, is that correct? Or not all of them?
I don't think they're evil. Well,
Okay.
let me check right now. I think it's a really complicated issue because, like humans, beings
Yeah.
have free will.
Yes.
So Orion people are Orion beings are very advanced, but some of them choose not to be light people, not light beings. So they're worse than reptilians in that sense because our reptilians aren't very advanced beings, but Orions are. And like yeah, that makes them much more advanced and they have more advanced technologies and a lot more powers. So
Hmm.
they're more dangerous. But most Orions are friendly. Like I've seen Orion beings and they're like they just say hi and stuff.
Yeah. Am I right with my theory with regards to aliens, to ETs? Technically, they do not need to have a physical body, meaning they can travel great distances just as astral in their astral form. Is that how it works for them?
So I can't confirm if physical aliens are real,
Mm-hmm.
apart from star seeds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But like they just exist in their energy bodies and they travel through ships or they just fly like Superman to travel through the astral plane, or if they're friendly beings through the higher dimensions, and they go through wormholes and portals and gateways. That's how they travel around the world. There's a network of wormholes and gateways and portals around the world that both light beings and dark beings use. There's like the dark portals and dark gateways and wormholes, and there's light wormholes as well, light gateways and light portals. So it really depends on what type of being you're dealing with.
Mm-mm. So can you pinpoint? I mean, they don't know you, but can you pinpoint any portals here in the Philippines that you've
Well,
seen?
portals are common. They can just
Really?
open a portal if they want to. So I
Ah,
can't really pinpoint like a giant portal. I think you're talking about a giant portal.
yeah, giant portal.
But I feel like Mount Makiling has a giant portal and it's full of energetic vortexes. That's a very high vibe location in the Philippines.
One of our usual questions also is if when you're we want to know the similarities and differences of elementals in other parts of the world. I mean, considering you were awakened 2017, were you able to visit other countries aside from Australia and see the elementals in other countries?
Yeah, I have. So I went to Japan like a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I saw kitsune.
Okay. Ah, okay.
So the thing about like folklore and mythology is that if it's all around the world, if that exists, it's probably real. Maybe the human people have not necessarily gotten their they may not have described them accurately whether they're good or bad, but they exist. They most likely do. Because I find when I encounter like myths and this folklore, they're usually real.
But how come sometimes, again, similar to what we've experienced with a story from Amsterdam, she was describing this tall creature who lives in her tree. So it's a capre, di ba? So I want to know, do we have more variety here in the Philippines, or is it different for every part of for every country? Do they take shape based on the collective consciousness? Meaning, if people think they look this way, they eventually look that way. Does that make sense?
I think the beings that you see really depends on your third eye because your third eye is like a lens and it has its own filter. It really differs per person, but so if you have a being, it can be seen in different ways, but they just are beings. They just exist. But I do get that girl in Amsterdam who has a tree and has a being. There's a capre. Maybe she saw it differently from me. But in terms of variety, I feel like there are some varieties, but I'm not super familiar with it. I just get that intuitively.
Uh, so I'll be asking some very weird questions, because when we talked to that girl in Amsterdam, she mentioned that she was kind of used as a channel, and they would sometimes channel beings, and they would communicate with these beings and learn from these beings. And one being that used to used to go in her was an at the best way she could describe it was as a it was a time spirit. So if you watch the Loki TV series, it's like a it's like a timekeeper. So again, this was something new for us, and I was like, "What? They're time being." So this being would show her the timeline. It would show her the time stream and the flow. And you mentioned earlier the nexus points. I think she mentioned something like that. That there are nexus points, and it showed it to her. And have you experienced anything like that, or talked to anyone, to any entity like that?
I feel like that entity is a time guardian because they have like a time council and they monitor timelines and the potential timelines of humanity and people and the planet. I personally see timelines when I do readings on people and when I make my own decisions in life, when I do major choices. I always check the timeline. For me, it appears like a blue highway. If it's a blue stream of energy, like a blue highway, then it's a good timeline. If it's not, it usually turns dark and it's gray and it's full of black electricity. That means it's not a good timeline. So I make my choices based on that, aside from all the information I get physically.
So at least you have a guide,
Yeah.
yeah, of which decision to follow.
Yeah.
Can I ask, are there other members in your family who have a gift or have a sensitivity?
Not really. No, most of my family are empaths, but they're not really psychic.
Uh, Another kind of personal question. We also talked to the girl I mentioned, the girl who talks with extraterrestrials, ETs. Uh, she didn't say it, but we kind of guessed it and told her, so you're a starseed. And she said, when I was young, angels would come to my room and tell me that I am. May Tagalog, they have a Tagalog term. I forgot the Tagalog term, but when you translate it, it means starseed.
Oh.
So she said, yeah, maybe I am a starseed. But so what happened to her was when she was a baby, her mother said she died. She was suffocated while in the womb. And then when she came out, she was alive. From the stuff I've listened to about starseeds is they usually jump in the body. If the person dies, they jump in. I mean, so did anything similar happen to you when you were a kid, or not that you know of?
That never really happened to me as a kid. I feel like with walk-ins, it's usually star seeds. That's what
Mm-hmm.
happens when like the soul doesn't want to leave, doesn't want to stay in the body anymore. So another soul comes in, and they're usually star seeds, but not always. And I feel like that woman you're talking about is Arcturian. Like I can see her soul. It's
Okay,
bright white.
I will ask her. How do you when you mentioned that you clear your house? I mean, you protect it. Is it something that you could share to us? How you clear and protect your house?
I make activations to help to for my own personal protection to protect my belongings in my house. So right now, I have energetic grids that spin vertically on my aura and my property and land and my personal belongings. So you can imagine that. Well, one of the activations that I made is an Aqualight triple grid. So Aqualight is a combination of the blue ray of protection and purification and the highest white light. It merges it together. It's a synthesis of both rays of light. I'm not sure if you've heard of them before, but yeah, and then it's harnessed into an energetic grid for protection. It exists multidimensionally. You won't If you have a third eye, you can see it because I gave one to my dad and my friend saw it on him, I mean. And so yeah. Well, basically there's seven rays of God. Well, that's the general, that's just the major rays. You have the first ray, the second ray, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So the first ray is the blue ray under Archangel Michael and El Moria, the Ascended Master. And it has the qualities of protection, purification, leadership, strength, will, power, taking action. And then you have like the white ray, which is the highest white light, which is strong for clearing, healing, and restoring balance. So I merged those two rays together to create activations based on those rays. And then you also have like the seventh ray, for example, which is the ray of transformation, transmutation, and it's the ray right now that is dominant in their age of Aquarius, which we're in right now.
So actually, when we found out about all of this, well, we were we started with little information, with tidbits of information about the ascension of Earth, but it started out with a girl who we helped out because she felt that her daughter was being haunted in their house. So we got in touch with an exorcist. He's not a priest, but he's an exorcist, and he told us that for some reason at the start of this year, because of the ascension,
Yeah, it's ascending.
so it's ascending, but there are negative entities who are pushing it down.
Yeah,
So that's the reason the frequencies are mixing, and that's the reason people are seeing more spirits, people are seeing more entities.
yeah,
Okay, so he was right about about that.
yeah. He's right. He's right.
Yeah, so that's why for some reason a lot of people have been technically awakened this year. Some psychics are experiencing also more powers, more abilities.
Yeah, that's true.
Have you tried communicating with your race, with your Syrian?
Sometimes like I would see a face in a spacesuit with a cape, and like I see one right now because it's visiting me.
Okay.
It has a very big head. It's similar to a gray head, but it's light.
Hmm.
It's pale colored. It's like light blue. And it's just saying hi. Sometimes they visit me and drop by. But yeah. I don't really talk to a lot of aliens because I just keep to myself. I just
Okay.
really work with my guides.
Okay. So why do you think they're visiting you?
It's because I'm Syrian and my vibration's really light, so my aura is very bright. And as I said a while ago, it's like a disco ball. It attracts all forms of creatures, whether it's dark or light, because they're drawn to your light. So it's very common for me to see a lot of beings of all forms go near me
Go
and
near
talk
you.
to me. Yeah.
So have you had any particular scary attacks or experiences?
Um, Recently, no, but maybe last year I would see an entity and it punched me in the face, and my body would actually get punched in the face.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Can you describe that entity, if you may?
it was a gray.
Okay. When we talked to again Miss May said that when she was in communication with some Greys and some, I think Pleiadians, they were saying that we are in their past. This what is happening now. Well, of course, it's in their past, and they're trying to whatever we might do has a big impact for them in the future. I think because of our greed, because of our wanting to colonize other worlds, it will eventually lead to a big war and a great destruction of some sort. And they are trying to sway us to a different path right now. Is that consistent with what you're hearing? And
That's why star seeds exist. They incarnate to help humanity. So yeah, that's pretty true.
okay, so what they're saying is again we were in their past, and so have you been getting like downloads of that information or
That we're in their past. Did you mean that to be like they went through this before?
yes, that's what I'm reading from what she said.
Um, the information's veiled to me, so I can't say
Ah,
anything about
okay.
it.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of star seeds and indigo children, crystal children, and rainbow children coming, and they've been here for a while already. Like I'm a crystal child. I'm a crystal star seed.
Mm-mm. What does that mean? Sorry, can I ask?
So you're a star seed, right? And then you can either be an indigo, rainbow, or crystal child. Not all star seeds are indigo children, crystal children, and rainbow children. But basically, indigo children are like here to create and destroy the old systems and create new systems for humanity, like to topple down governments and stuff and to create new policies.
Yes.
They're very strong-willed and they can be very fierce.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't know if I've encountered an indigo before, but that's what they're like supposedly. Crystal children are here to build on what the indigos have created with by enhancing it, whether it's through new modalities like what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or spreading a lot of love in many different ways. And the rainbow children are similar to the crystal children, but I feel like their energy is a lot stronger too.
Rainbow children. Okay. So, but they're also star seeds, correct?
Yeah, they're all star seeds. They're just different kinds of star seeds. I feel like the indigo frequency, the crystal frequency, and the rainbow frequency are energetic configurations for a soul. That's why some star seeds aren't those children, but they're still star seeds.
Yes. It doesn't necessarily mean that, let's say, Arcturians are crystal, all crystal, Syrian are. So it differs also. If you've tapped into that part of your soul or your, I mean, I'm not sure how to describe it, your essence or your soul. Do you know the past or the history of the Syrian race?
I've never looked into it actually, but yeah, maybe one day I'll check into it.
So when you go walking around, do you like see also other star seeds? Have you tried to connect with other star seeds?
So, my friends are starseeds. Some of them are
Mm,
starseeds. So yeah, I
okay.
have an Arcturian starseed friend, a Pleiadian starseed friend, and another Pleiadian starseed friend. So I have two Pleiadian starseed friends and one Arcturian starseed friend.
It's a good thing that you were able to easily adapt to the change. I mean, it's just been a couple of years for you to be able to accept and develop your skills.
It really wasn't easy at first
Hmm.
because I got to the point where I was suicidal because I was just going crazy and I was really depressed and anxious. but it eventually got better as I empowered myself and I really started working on myself. It really got better. It wasn't easy at all.
Mm-mm. So it really took some time, and I mean, struggles with yourself to.
To come to this place, yeah.
Sam, do you have any
No,
questions?
I'm okay.
I will ask for Sam since he's not asking it. Okay, so Sam, we talked to this light worker in Denmark, and she said that there's the reason Sam is experiencing this block is there's an intentional block on him, and I'm not sure if you're able to pick up on it or be intuitive about it.
Unintentional block?
Yeah, because he stopped sensing everything. He's slowly regaining it now, but
Like a block from Sam himself or from something else?
I think the light worker mentioned that someone from that part of the dimension didn't want me to continually use my ability and intentionally blocked my abilities. So what's that group again? The agency.
the agenda.
The agenda.
Yeah, the
Wrong
agency.
word.
Yeah.
But yeah, the agenda. She calls them the agenda, which are apparently like
Negative aligned.
extraterrestrial. Yeah.
Negative aligned ETs
The
supposedly.
negative alien agenda.
So we don't know if you're able to pick up on it. But again, the light worker just gave Sam some things to do and to cleanse it and to break it off. I'm not sure. We're trying to ask people with skills like yours to ask if you're able to see something else. Because again, it's like asking the doctor for another opinion. But
What I'm seeing Sam's aura right now. There's like a white golden column, which is light in his aura, but around it, it's kind of gray. There's a hole in his back. There's an auric hole in his back. And that's how the negative alien agenda entered. Well, they put suppressor implants and technologies in him to suppress his psychic abilities. So it went through the back, and now it's all over him.
Okay.
Okay.
If you have those removed, they'll probably come back though. I mean, the abilities will probably start coming back. Although I don't really know how strong they are. I'm just checking quickly, but it's not a guarantee. But it'll probably come back if those are removed because he's really sensitive.
Yeah. I hope so because I feel incomplete.
Yeah, I understand.
Would you be able to advise anything for him to finally remove those things blocking him?
Let me check. One of the implants, is it an implant? No, it's a technology. It's a blocking divine intervention. It's blocking the crown chakra.
That's funny because that's exactly what the light worker mentioned to me, that it's on top of my head. It's on top of my head, but at the back part.
Yes, at the back part.
Yeah. It's like, it's really interesting. I don't know how to describe it, but like, so it's on your crown chakra at the back of your head, and then there's like three metallic funnels going all over your back. It's like giant wires.
Can you tell me what are the effects of these metallic wires at the back?
More anxiety and stress.
Great.
You get downloads of negativity.
Yeah.
Like negative matrix downloads. Like, you know those matrix codes in the Matrix movie? The green ones, you have black ones all over your aura because it's downloading negative stuff into you.
Is there a way for him to block it?
You need a healing.
He needs healing, yeah.
To extract all of that stuff.
So I really need to host that gig.
I know. I think Mason is in touch with the healing house. I'm not sure if they do that in the healing house remotely. Do they do that, Mason?
Yeah, they do, but I'm not sure who specializes in it for implants.
Oh, okay. I think Sam, you might want to try to reach out to them and tell them about this, because Mason is the second one to be consistent with what he's seeing about your blockage.
Also, Sam's a really strong empath, so you're absorbing a lot of stuff because your energetic boundaries are kind of weak. and you have a hole in your back. So that really like if you have a hole, if like in the same way that if a glass has a hole and water comes out, it's similar but internal for Sam. So a lot of negative energies from people in the environment entities come into his back.
That's the reason why I always keep myself inside my room and don't come out. I'm
Oh,
beginning to become a hermit for like since for it's almost 2 years, direct,
Yes, 2 years. 2 years.
that I've become a hermit. Yeah,
okay.
it's starting to creep me out. Okay,
Yeah.
continue.
Okay. So Mason, what kind of attacks have you? I mean, just curious, but what attacks have you gotten? Were there attacks when you opened, when you were awakened? Did things start to attack you when you were awakened?
Yeah, because I would feel like shit, but I couldn't. It's like I would feel shit. I would feel like shit, but it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't in the physical body,
Mm-mm.
just around it. Although I didn't understand at the time, but those were psychic attacks on the aura. But like psychic attacks can be beamed out of hands of like grays, like they blast laser beams at you, or they
Mm-mm.
use weapons. Not
Okay.
necessarily guns, but similar to guns. But they have their own technologies to attack people.
Mason, I'd like to run something by you, because when I was again, you can tell me if this is just my imagination or whatever it is. Maybe I think 5 or 6 years back, I had this very very vivid dream of while I was looking out the window in our condominium. It's like I could see aliens landing in the Philippines, and then I could see myself fighting some aliens. So I'm not sure if that was just a dream or am I seeing something? I know.
You're watching too much ET movies.
Too much sci-fi movies. I don't know.
I'm not sure. It's not
Okay,
available to me.
okay, okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. I might be blocking you here. So sorry. You were saying what kind of attacks did you get when you were starting out? I mean, when you were awakened
Um,
from the Greys.
what were the attacks? They'd blast stuff at me. They'd spit stuff out of their mouth. It's like black sludge, and it moves around
Oh
you.
yeah. Okay. Mm-mm. Greys or reptiles? Reptilians.
Both, but it's usually the grace that would come for me.
Okay. Yeah, that was what I was going to tell you pala. So the starseed I was talking to, she said that she got the message from them that the Greys were us in the future. Eventually, we will turn into Greys now. Supposedly, maybe humans, not all humans, but some humans.
Ooh, that's interesting. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. So that's the reason. I mean, probably negative aligned humans. I'm not sure. Also, have you encountered Greys who are benevolent?
No, I don't think they're benevolent at all.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they're just not an advanced race.
Do they come in different sizes also, or are they usually just short?
Yeah,
Okay.
some of them have really long legs that be the size of a tree. Like the
Wow.
whole body would be the size of a tree. Some of them are the size of human beings. Some of them are like 1 meter long. But yeah, they come in different sizes. There's like a whole variety of them.
But is it true that the reptilians are really underground? They
Um, I don't know. I don't. Probably not.
probably not, because from what I've read and from what I've heard from other again books and psychics talking about it, apparently, if you're familiar with Lemuria, our third
Yeah.
root race, the reason it got this, I mean, they disappeared or they were attacked was because the reptilians worked with the Greys to attack. So the reason Lemuria and Atlantis was technically destroyed is because of the reptilians.
Um, I personally feel like the reason why Atlantis got destroyed is because they manipulated crystals in their own power,
Mm,
and it probably attracted reptilians and greys.
okay.
But I have a Lemurian seed crystal, so I have like that's like my token of their civilization.
Really?
Yeah, Lemurian seed crystals are really powerful. They have a lot of coding and wisdom from the Lemurians. Are you familiar with Lemurian seed crystals?
No, actually no.
Lemurian seed crystals are a type of quartz which have bars on them, like horizontal bars to them, like ladders.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very distinct. It's like they're natural and they're not carvings. They're just really natural, and they're usually from Brazil. But yeah, and they're encrypted in higher mathematical language, which you can decrypt with energy work,
Mm-hmm.
and it has like data and wisdom and codes from the Lemurians.
So what were you able to pick up from the ones you have?
I've never really accessed it.
Okay, but there is, but you can feel it's there.
Yeah, I was talking to a healer about it,
Mm-hmm.
and she was the one who told me it's encrypted in higher mathematical language.
Last question before before we let you go. This is so interesting to me, but uh, again, the girl we talked to in Amsterdam, she said that when she was we asked her if she's had an ET experience, and she said, "I'm not sure if it is," but she said that while she was in her living room, suddenly, well, she was still with someone. Now she was in the room with someone. Suddenly, it's like the room shifted, and a tall, angular shaped being without a face came at her and started talking to her, and she couldn't understand it. But the light worker told us that it's probably a download telling her information, but for her, she couldn't understand it. And from what they surmised, after talking about the light worker and the girl from Amsterdam, they were saying it's an ancient being providing her with data, and supposedly that ancient being is sort of a protector. So again, you're highly intuitive. I'm not sure if you're picking up anything from that story.
It's her ancestor.
Oh, okay,
The
okay.
thing about the thing about energetic information is that it's not necessarily a knowing thing. It might just be a feeling thing
Yeah.
because it's not just because it's multidimensional information, right?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
not always about physical textbooks and data,
Yes.
but or numbers, but it might be like a feeling that you get that you embody.
Is it possible that we could invite you again to join us next time?
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Because I'm sure after this conversation, we have a ton more questions for you because you probably know more than us. Thank you, Mason.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, Mason, for opening up about this. I can imagine it must have been quite strange to talk about your experiences to a total stranger, especially a topic that is mostly shunned by even the hardcore paranormal experiencers. As Mason mentioned, he has started to focus on healing. He currently offers services on healing and spiritual development sessions. That's how he phrased it. To give a short description of what he does, I'm just going to read off something he sent me. It involves a repair and healing of all your energetic anatomies like the aura, soul, chakras, grounding cord, meridians, and all that. So if you want to know more, of course, you can reach him at ascensionjourney444@gmail.com. I'll post this email in the show notes as well. Personally, I have not seen a reptilian and I do not intend to see one. You can do your own research into them if you wish, although in general they are portrayed in a negative light. You be the judge. I've talked to other people on Discord and they say that there are other more evolved and more, let's say, non-hostile reptilians, but in general they are portrayed and seen in that negative light. If you want to know more about ETs, I suggest you do research on CE5 and Dr. Stephen Greer. You can try to also search for Lou Elizondo and the disclosure he's been a proponent of. They're supposedly from different camps in the UFO community, but you can check and discern which side you lean more into. I'll post some other interesting links about ETs in the show notes below. A particularly interesting interview with a journalist named Ross Coulthart. So that's an interesting interview also if you want to know more about ETs. If you are going to ask me if I believe in ETs, yes, I do. When I started watching X-Files, I've been a believer probably since then. Actually, acknowledging the fact that we evolved from apes, I'm also open to the fact that in other worlds, where the climate is different, where there are different conditions, maybe different species evolved, or several of them evolved into non-human intelligence. Is that too much of a reach to imagine? I've heard of ETs that are dolphins, cat-like ETs, amphibious ETs, ETs that look like lions, ETs that are octopi. What if the evolution of the planet they were in fostered a different species to evolve more than others? These are questions I ask myself every so often, and the hard part for me to digest in what I hear and what I watch online sometimes is, why Earth? What is so special about Earth that they are here, intervening or supporting our progress? Although I do not doubt the experiences of the people I've talked to, of course, I personally question, why Earth? Why is it supposedly integral in the development of the galactic community? So, again, for those who just believe in ghosts, elementals, and angels, diba? This is something new to think about. But that's just me. If you wish to continue the discussion online, you can hop into our Discord community, where we have a chat room specifically for extraterrestrials. We can continue our hypotheses and speculations there. Tinfoil hatters are allowed. A shout out to Sam again for dropping by and joining the chat with Mason. If you want to know more about Sam and his condition, I'll link his past show, of course, in the show notes. If you feel you want to hear more of Sam, he also has a podcast where he talks about non-paranormal topics. I am there though as a guest in his Halloween episode, so there's probably one paranormal themed episode in there. The podcast is A Cup of Coffee. I'll post the link in the show notes below. A big thank you to our Patreons. Thank you, sirs and ma'am. Sunny, Pat, Jay, thank you again for all your support. Sunny, Pat, and Jay, they get our episodes a bit earlier. They also sometimes get exclusive access to some episodes, depending if I have the time and I'm able to edit earlier. But thank you guys and gal for helping and supporting the podcast. If you have experienced ETs and you want to share your story with us, do get in touch with us on Facebook or email us at paranormalsph@gmail.com. If you want to share your story about your ET experiences, we can schedule an interview or just shoot us an email. It's all up to you, whatever you want to disclose. The Paranormal Podcast is engineered and produced by F90 Productions. If you have the time, please leave us a review on your preferred delivery platform. May it be on YouTube or the podcast platform you are using to listen to us. A like, a subscribe, and a short comment helps energize us to keep doing the podcast. Think of it as Goku collecting his energy ball. I also heard this week that Spotify will start putting a star rating for podcasts. So if you are listening and you already have that feature, please give us a rating of your choice. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you for listening, and please stay safe. Ang haba na nung extra. Wala na munang latak listeners portion ngayon, ha? Okay, bye-bye. Magandang latak listeners! Thank you sa mga nag-feedback tungkol sa boses ko. Napaghalata tuloy yung pagka-self-centered ko. Pero honest question naman yun. So, thank you sa mga nag-feedback. Sa totoo lang, madami pa ako questions kay Mason di ba? Pero I think nakasingit lang kami sa schedule niya noon, so di ko na natanong. Hopefully, maybe in the future episode, we can ask him again to join us. Let's see. Nasa Discord actually, si Mason. So you can look for him there. I think he replied sa protection chat room where I posted about his services, gano'n. Mapapansin nyo in future episodes, magtatanong pa rin ako sa mga psychics na makakausap ko about ETs. Pero karamihan talaga sa nakakaramdam ng multo, elementals, angels, hindi nila matanggap yung ETs. And yun talaga, difficulty rin ng mga kahit normal listeners na wala nararamdaman. Parang yung concept ng ETs parang masyadong sci-fi. Kung napanood nyo yung documentary ni Dr. Stephen Greer, which I think is titled Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, ang sinasabi kasi nila doon, merong propaganda to make people who are experiencers feel na parang siraulo sila. Na to make them, para i-discredit yung mga sinasabi nila. And meron rin doon, again, kung napanood nyo yung documentary na yun, merong paid, yun ang sinasabi nila, merong paid journalists and people, experts, scientists, to discredit the existence of ETs. So, nagsisinungaling ba sila? Nagsasabi sila ng totoo? Hindi natin alam. We will never know until it is really exposed. Diba? Actually, personally, kahit hindi pa ako nakaka-experience ng ET, dahil manhid nga ako, mas naniniwala lang talaga ako na, let's say, mas sa logical side ng brain ko, diba? Na, gaya na sabi ko kanina, imposibleng planet lang natin yung nagkaroon ng evolved life form with means to explore outer space, di ba? Posibleng ibang conditions doon, ibang species ang nag-evolve, di ba? Iba rin yung kanilang development. Hindi natin alam. Medyo marami pa actually development sa ET sa mga kwento in the future. Especially kay Olivia, meron yan. So, abangan nyo na lang sa future episodes. Shout out syempre sa ating masusugid na LLs sa LL chatroom. Malamang nakamute na sa maraming Discord peeps. Paalala ko lang sa ating masugid na LL peeps na pag nag-tangent tayo sa ibang chatroom, pakilipat na lang sa LL chatroom ang usapan. Kasi baka, para makatulong lang sa mga nagba-backread. Kasi yung, I appreciate yung gaguhan, pero baka nga yung iba na baguhan or hindi sanay magbasa o ayaw magbasa ng mga kalokohan, baka yun nga. So let's transfer it to the LL chat room. Si Teacher, Father, Pastor, EJ, ikaw na bahala magpulis ng mga ano natin. Yan na muna. Kung ikaw na bibigay ng assignment, ako, yan ang ano ko sa'yo, assignment ko sa'yo. Up to you kung gusto mo i-take on ang task. Hindi naman siya forced. Madam Gaida Jade 77, malapit na po ang Pasko. Pag may nakaaway po kayo, wag po sana kayong manakal sa kaaway nyo. Okay? Relax lang. Okay? Sa mga sumusunod sa LL peeps, malalaman nyo kung anong ibig sabihin nun. Pasensya na sa inside jokes. Pero yun nga, ang LLI, puro inside jokes. So, sorry na lang. On a serious note naman, I'm recording this a day after Typhoon Odette hit the Philippines. As of checking, wala pa rin clear na balita kung anong areas ang tinamaan ng grabe and kung anong areas na sobrang napinsala. Ang nabasa ko lang is kung anong airports yung operational, ano yung roads na passable. So if any of our listeners, alam ko si Teach na sa Davao yan, tahimik nga ang Discord ngayon dahil feeling ko wala siyang internet access. Pero if any of our listeners out there have been hit and need any sort of help, reach out lang kayo and maybe I can coordinate a fund drive. Kailangan ko lang aralin paano gawing super transparent para walang dudahan, di ba? Pero I hope it doesn't get to that. But again, I'm willing to organize anything if it will help kahit hindi listeners, kahit yung ibang tao. Kung may nakita kayong gusto kayong tulungan, sabihin nyo lang, let's try to work together, di ba? That's what the community is for. So ayun, meron tayong Christmas episode, hindi nga lang Christmas ang theme. Di ko na rin announce sa Facebook at ano kasi para surprise. Tsaka feeling ko controversial para sa iba. So, yun na lang. May yun ang Merry Christmas. So, sa 25 meron suggestion ko, huwag nyo na pakinggan on that day. Pakinggan nyo na sa day after. Spend the time with your family. Nilabas ko lang dahil para makabawas sila ng episodes. May nag-comment sa Discord na naging comedy daw yung huling LL. Pasensya na po. Frustrated comedian ako eh. Na-realize ko lang na hindi ako ganun nakakatawa. So, ayun pala naalala ko. Meron pala ako naging project pre-pandemic na hindi ko naasikaso nung nag-start na yung lockdown. Nasa YouTube siya. Siyempre, comedy konti. Title niya is Hari ng Kalsada. Post ko yung link sa show notes kung gusto nyo medyo maiksing nakakatawang content. Well, natawa ako nung pinapanood ko. Gaya na sabi ko, self-centered nga. Panoorin nyo na lang. Tignan nyo kung matatawa kayo or ma-enjoy nyo. Kung may feedback, sige, let me know. Nasa LL naman, makikinig ako dyan. Pabayaan nyo na ako mag-plug. Minsan lang naman, di ba? Advance Merry Christmas sa inyong lahat. Sa mga tropang LL. Kailan ba ang Christmas party natin? Sino mo magpaparaffle dyan? Pahabol lang pala. Okay. Seryoso ako dun sa Mountain Stories recording natin sa December 28, 8 p.m. I will invite anyone who wants to join. Magpo-post ako ng link sa Discord, Zoom link. Kaya naman up to 100 yan. Sige lang. Kung sino gusto maki-join, go lang, sama kayo. I mean, sana makasama kayo. Mas masaya pag madami tayo, di ba? Experiment lang naman. Tingnan natin kung kaya ko i-handle lahat nung kung may makulit. Pero yon. Thank you for listening. Ingat kayo. Testing. Yes.